Now, all last year, we had issues, but they really, really, really started in this country with the Saint Ahmaud Arbery case. Now, remember, Saint Ahmaud Arbery happened in, I think, February, and it wasn't brought to our attention until March. It was a month delay in the story from the time it happened to the time it hit the mainstream news media. And this is before I even thought of George Floyd. This is when George Floyd couldn't get a red penny with a hole in it from any of them family members that's at the White House, that's going around having press conferences every day. George Floyd couldn't get a red cent from any of those people. This is before George Floyd's situation. Ahmaud Arbery. And I did several videos, classic videos on Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud was just a young homie, career criminal. And, he was just doing his thing out here, living his life. He had no idea that, citizens could make arrests. And when those citizens tried to arrest him, he fought with them. And they killed him, and those guys are in jail, and they're awaiting trial. But the whole narrative was that Ahmaud was jogging. Old Ahmaud was just jogging. He's getting his jog on. Get your jog on. Get your jog on. And that was the narrative. Ahmaud was just jogging. Even though later on, we learned it was more sinister than that. Old Ahmaud was a frequent visitor to this neighborhood, and he was a suspect in one theft from a car. And then they saw him snooping around a construction site, and anybody who's ever been around a construction site, there's tons of valuable building materials, tools, a lot of things to steal, a lot of valuable things that you can sell on the street easy, or at a pawn shop on a construction site, because they don't pack up all the material and take it home every day. That would be inefficient. And look, Ahmaud was just doing his thing, man. He didn't have a lot of support from his family. He had to steal to get by. Same thing with all these guys. Everybody who shows up after they get killed by the police was never there for them when they were alive. Then we found out there were several other recorded on body cam instances, run-ins with the law of Ahmaud Arbery. With real police, not with citizens who were just trying to protect their neighborhood. We saw a thief, that a person that they had thought was a thief. One of these incidents, Ahmaud Arbery was still in a flat screen from a Walmart. Another one, he had a run-in with a cop that turned physical and he got tased. Just a young homie out here, man. I definitely don't want to make y'all think that I don't understand. These young dudes, they just out here, man. They think that they don't know that they live in the greatest country in the world. They don't know of all the opportunities they have. All they know is that it's slavery and racism and white man out to get them and institutional this, disenfranchised that, systematic this, and all this other crap. They don't know that they're the greatest country in the world. They have a state-of-the-art computer in their pocket. A computer that I do everything on my channel from. I do my whole channel from this computer. Called the cell phone. So Ahmaud Arbery, the narrative was spun that he was just jogging, because when the footage picks up, the guy filming the encounter picks up, Ahmaud's running. He's running away from the guys. They're in a pickup truck and they're trying to arrest him. Ahmad, the guy hops out of the pickup truck and tells Ahmad to stop. Ahmad grabs the gun by the barrel and jerks at it, pulling it away from the man. The double barrel shotgun, he grabs the barrel and tries to pull it out of the man's hand. He gets shot. He dies. All these movements started. Jogging with Ahmad. Jogging, all these crazy black people started coming out the woodwork talking about when I jog, I feel like I'm the thing I fear when I'm jogging through Harlem or west side of Baltimore, south side of Chicago or southwest Atlanta. The thing I fear most is the KKK coming up on me with all these fake loony stories from these upper crust black people who never have encounters with the cops because they're law-abiding citizens. And Ahmad became the face of, how hard it is to be a black person. You can't even go for a jog. Even LeBron chimed in. You can't even go for a jog without white people coming up on you in a pickup truck, jumping out on you and shooting you dead. Because that happens. That's what's happening in America. That's the state of America. In March of 2020, that was the state of America. You couldn't even go for a jog. The June of 2021, police say driver who shot at 3 joggers in Buckhead, injuring one, also is suspected of ramming a man with a car. So being a jogger, a black jogger, is still very dangerous in Atlanta. Extremely dangerous. Even though Ahmad was in a different part of Georgia, it's still just, you can't even take a jog, Police said driver who shot 3 joggers in Buckhead Saturday morning, injuring one of them, was also suspected in plowing his car into a man at an apartment complex and leaving him with serious injuries. Around 8:30 a.m., police responded to reports of a jogger shot on the 1200 block of West Wesley Road. Police found a man in his early 40s with at least one gunshot wound. He was taken to Grady Memorial Hospital where he was in stable condition. His identity has not been released. Shortly afterwards, police responded to reports that the driver had shot at 2 more joggers on the 800 block of West Wesley Road. Those 2 victims were not hurt. The joggers who have not been identified told police the man drove by them and started shooting at them. The joggers described the shooter as a man with dreadlocks who was driving a newer model silver Hyundai sedan. So either this is Justin Bieber or his brother. But we got jogger on jogger crime here. Jogger on jogger crime. Suspect is described as a man with dreadlocks. Okay? So let's see how this article plays out. Will this be tied to the, epidemic of black joggers being attacked? You had Ahmaud Arbery last year, and then a year later you have this. So it's an epidemic. Because surely if another black jogger had been attacked within that year span, we would have heard about it. I would have definitely heard about it. I got people sending me emails by the dozens every day. So let's see if this is tied into Ahmaud Arbery. Around 11:30 a.m., police said they got a call that a man was hit by a car as he was taking his trash out at the Collier Ridge Apartments nearby. The victim, who was in his early 20s, was severely injured and taken into surgery. Police detained the man inside the vehicle, matching the description from the earlier shootings. Police said the suspect may live at the apartment complex and may have been having mental health crisis. So does this mean they should have sent the mental health aid when they catch him? Police, stand down. The mental health aides got this one. Right? Police are working to make sure the man they have in custody is the suspect. So the police got him. They got some guy who from a vehicle. They say, pretty sure they got the guy. But the mental health workers were given the day off. There was no need. Their services were not required for this mental health crisis.
Concerning video into the Fox 5 newsroom of Atlanta's so-called bottle boys hanging onto a moving vehicle. We talk with a former APD officer who calls the action a crime. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haynes.
I'm Courtney Bryant. The driver in that video ended up carrying those boys down a Buckhead block because they wouldn't let go of the car.
Fox 5's Morris Diggs joins us live tonight in Buckhead with more on the story. Morris, a bystander gave you a copy of that video.
Yes, certainly some disturbing images. Now, our information is anecdotal, but we hopefully think that this happens in the minority. But it's occurring often enough that both the district council member, Howard Shook, and attorney Jackie Patterson, who used to patrol the streets out here in Atlanta, both say APD needs to crack down.
Now, he said this anecdotal and this happens in the minority. No other channel has been on top of this. Like, I've been covering this for 2 years, man. The situation down here in Atlanta with these bottle boys. These entrepreneurs, as they tried to call them for a moment. Basically, thugs selling water. Little hoodlums selling water. Little hoodlums that, you know, and these are the worst kind. They can't quite cut it in the drug game. They can't, you know, they can't cut it in the, you know, in the mean streets with the heroin and the dope sales and the drug sales and, you know, these are the cast-offs, the misfits, but they're still extremely dangerous to lames. Like, these are the kids that, you know, they ain't the real top of dudes around the neighborhood that's moving the coke and got the corner locked down, got the breezeway locked down, got the project hallways locked down. They look at these guys as kind of like, you know, like, whatever. But these water boys are still very dangerous to a civilian, a law-abiding citizen. Extremely dangerous and extremely intimidating. And they know that. Okay? And they know that you're a soft target. They know that you don't know that he's not really like apex predator in his hood. He's more like a, you know, a scavenger in his hood. But when he comes downtown with his water and he's in that world, that's his world. He becomes the apex predator. He becomes the baddest man in the whole damn town, or one of the baddest men in the whole downtown, because he still has to hold his position down around a bunch of other guys just like him from those same hardcore neighborhoods, in those same school systems, in those same broken homes. But I like the way the brother tried to sanitize it and clean it up.
Yes, certainly some disturbing images. Now, our information is anecdotal, but we hopefully think that this happens in the minority. But it's occurring often enough that both the district council member, Howard Shook, and attorney Jackie Patterson, who used to patrol the streets out here in Atlanta, both say APD needs to crack down. A bottle of water for $1? Motorists can decline, but look at what can happen if you do. At least 2 bottle boys, with others chasing, get on top of a moving car in Buckhead.
What I saw was an act of aggression. For those young men to be hanging on to someone's vehicle, that is clearly a crime of simple assault.
Attorney Jackie Patterson, a former Atlanta cop.
Attorney Jackie Patterson, man. I hope this ain't what he wear to court. I hope they just caught him when he was going out to like a line dancing club with his wife or something. I hope this ain't how this brother dresses in court. But even he sanitized it. It's simple assault. Whatever. This happens all the time. They shoot people, they rob people, they harass people. All the time. I showed you what the one bottle boy said about black people. His warning or threat to black people. It's just a mess. Anytime you... Keisha Bottoms, black district attorney, black police chief, black city council, black mayor. Just a mess down there.
What I saw was an act of aggression. For those young men to be hanging on to someone's vehicle, that is clearly a crime of simple assault.
Attorney Jackie Patterson, a former Atlanta cop, says the city must stop the Water Street sales immediately.
When you're putting people's lives in fear on the premise that you're selling bottled water, that is unacceptable. I myself have had occasions where I felt, and I'm a former police officer, and I felt like I was in fear because when I said, no, I don't want any water, they start at that point getting so close to your vehicle.
It's driving a lot of people nuts.
What we're showing you occurred in Howard Shook's council district. Shook has received the same information I've gotten from police officers about a youth engagement program in which police have been told not to arrest the bottle boys, but give them information about how they can apply for jobs or paid internships.
This is why these cities are broken, man. If you lock these kids up, you wouldn't have to get rid of it. If you lock these kids up when they did something wrong, they could still be out there selling waters. They'd act like they got some sense. If their boy was doing 6 months in juvie or another one was down to jail for something they did on the streets, you wouldn't have to end this. But by being so lenient and turning a blind eye to it and not giving them any kind of discipline and any kind of guidance, now you have to get rid of it. You have to tell them they can't do it now. Kids want parameters. They want discipline. And these black-run cities refuse to do that. They prefer to... God, dog. They prefer a laissez-faire approach to these young people. Let them do whatever the hell they want. And coddle them and make excuses for them. And call anybody who has a problem with it a coon if they're black and a racist if they're white. All these boys should be pushing shopping carts. They should be lot techs at a grocery store or a department store somewhere. Pushing carts back to the front of the store. Getting paid $10 an hour. Making way more money than they making now. These kids don't make no money. Anybody who used to hustle knows that. You don't even make no money hustling. selling drugs. When you a little street corner dude like that, enough to buy some tennis shoes and maybe get you a car from the auction. These little boys selling a bottle of water for $1 ain't getting nothing. They ain't making no money. They making just enough to buy something to eat and get a bag of weed.
Mr. Shook has no faith in an approach that handcuffs police officers from keeping order at the intersections.
What a lot of residents are just absolutely fed up with this, and they don't see it as government's inability to deal with it. I think it's a little worse. I think they see it as complete and utter indifference. And I counted 11 different individuals that appeared to be involved in selling water. I've never seen a crowd like that before.
So I asked the police department, what should a motorist do if you're at an intersection and all of a sudden you're surrounded by bottle boys? They say, well, call 911. I'll tell you what Jackie Patterson told me. He tries to anticipate any possible encounter. He says with his convertible, he pauses several feet from a light to change, and he tries to move through. Reporting live from Northeast Atlanta, I'm Morse Diggs, Fox 5 News.
Wow. All right. 8 o'clock tonight, the search for the woman behind the wheel who ran down a young woman in a parking lot in the Galleria area.
The attack was caught on camera last weekend, a wild and dangerous end to what started as just a night out on the town.
Can you imagine? Despite that hard impact, the woman survived, and tonight, she and her mother are sharing their story only on 2.
Our Keith Garvin is live along Richmond and Sage, where the woman was hit. Keith?
Christine, Chris, it was in this very parking lot, about this exact spot where that young woman was hit. She was hit and she was dragged by that car, knocked up in the air. As she said, it started off as just a girls' night out celebrating someone's birthday. And after some words were exchanged with another group, it all went downhill from there.
Oh, this was an argument. Words were exchanged. Well, I've been doing this for 4 years on YouTube, and I've been living this for 43 years. These be some Wakandans, man. These be some Wakandans. What say you? What do you think?
I blacked out, so it's kind of pretty much blurry.
The fact Alasia Houston is even sitting here is a miracle, and her mother knows it.
I could have literally been planning a funeral right now.
Houston is alive after being targeted by a driver who floored the gas, then ran down the 22-year-old in a parking lot near the Galleria, knocking her onto the hood of a car, where she then crashes to the ground looking lifeless.
I just remember waking up and my friends is there helping me, taking me to the hospital. It was so scary. It was so scary. I just started crying because I thought she was dead.
This video was recorded by a bystander in the early morning hours of May 29th. It shows the aftermath of what Houston says started as a verbal altercation between 3 females in the car and Houston and her 3 friends. Things escalated and the 3 females got in the car and at least 3 other times went after other people with that car before hitting Houston. You can see they actually leave the parking lot at Richmond and Sage, turn back in, and then make a beeline for Houston.
For them to do multiple attempts, they literally tried to kill someone that night.
Alasia Houston suffered a concussion, facial bruises, and a sprained shoulder, among other injuries.
Oh, she got off easy. For just after they first tried to hit them, for still standing in the roadway part of the parking lot, not like getting behind a car or leaving, but still making yourself a target after they'd already tried 2 previous times to run people over. Usually it gets you. If you do that, the laws of the universe say, okay, let me put the smack down on you. So all she got is a shoulder bruise, nothing. Oh, she's good.
She has a message for the group that turned a small four-door sedan into a deadly weapon.
I'm still here.
Well, back here live, Houston says she and her friends have no idea who the driver and the two passengers were. They had never met them before that night. They say they want them in jail. HPD is investigating and looking for those three. Reporting from the Galleria area, Keith Garvin, KPRC 2 News.
Wow, she's lucky to be alive, Keith. Thank you for that.